Guys, we're currently on Madden 23. Okay, we're going to be talking about the Super Bowl. No, the playoffs! Yes, guys, we're talking about the playoff promo, okay? We're talking about what to expect, how to prepare, all that kind of good stuff. Playoff promo will be starting most likely sometime in the next 10 days. After week 18 is over with, we start seeing the playoff promo kind of put its ugly head into effect. Now, last year, Madden 23, the EA did the playoff promo different than any other year. In previous years, it was every team got a team captain. So, for example, every single team in Madden got a 95 overall for the teams that made the playoffs. So you had 7 team captains on offense, on AFC, and 7 team captains on NFC. So they all were 95 overalls. Now, that's kind of how we always get the playoff promo. You have the 95 overall player, and then inside that set, you have a bunch of other cards that make up that set. So, for example, all 14 teams, they're going to get a total around 6 to 7 players for their, playoff, with the playoff promo. So it's a lot of cards, and again, if you don't make the playoffs, you're not going to get a card. So this is kind of the promo where if you want to go ahead and build some theme teams, probably build them around some playoff teams. Now, last year, EA took that whole entire idea and threw it out the window. How they did it last year was like this. So not only did they go ahead and avoid the whole idea of, you had to go ahead and complete, or you had to put in the set here, certain players, they decided instead to go with wildcard players. Now, they still released a lot of different cards into the game that went ahead and made up these sets. And what they did was they made 93 overall heroes. So instead of being 95s, they were 93s. And in order to complete those sets, you had to go ahead and put in wildcard players from that said 93 overall set. So, for example, I believe it was like 291s. I think it was like a couple 88s, some 86s, so on and so on. But you can see these 93 overall players here. These were considered playoff heroes. So you have 93s that are playoff heroes, and then you have the 96s, which are the champions. Very much what we see this year is probably what we're going to see at the playoff promo this year. So like kind of every single promo this year has been, we have heroes, we have champions, and then you have to go ahead and complete them. So we're probably going to get a total of 14 different playoff champions, playoff heroes, which will be 93 overalls. And then we're going to get a bunch of other cards that make up those sets with the teams that went ahead and made the playoffs. So, for example, we're going to have the Chiefs in there. We have, let me think. Okay, Eagles. I could not think for a second. Eagles, potentially the Packers, the Cowboys, the 49ers, the Ravens, the Dolphins. I can't say anyone else because every other team could potentially make the playoffs and miss the playoffs. Like the Bills, Colts, and Texans, we don't know what's going to happen there. We don't know what's going to happen in AFC South at this moment in time. And we don't know what's going to happen with the NFC either because everything is up in the air right now. But yeah, so those guys are going to get playoff heroes. And then how these works is these work a little bit different. So pretty much what we have here is 2 legends. Now, I believe that we'll get the same thing as before. These 2 legends will go ahead and come out at the beginning of the promo. So when the playoff promo does drop, you'll see the champion players, these 2 guys, and then you'll see the rest of the playoff heroes. These do not come out until later. So for example, these cards, again, will be 2 legend cards, one AFC, one NFC. Who knows who those cards are going to be? They're going to be 2 96s. Probably will be 2 96s this year as well. I know this year they're kind of doing a little bit lesser overalls, but yeah. So how last year worked was that these 2 teams were both the teams in the wild card who had the bye week. So for the wild card weekend, these are the 2 teams that had byes. For example, the Eagles and the Chiefs were both number 1 seeds, so they did not play wild card. So whoever the number 1 seeds end up being, they're going to get a wild card 96 overall champion player. So probably the Ravens, I think, locked it up already. And then the other side, it's going to be probably the 49ers or Eagles or Cowboys. I don't think the Lions can get it, right? Because they lost to the Cowboys with that bullcrap. So yeah, so these are the 2 number 1 seeds. Now we have the divisional round cards, which is the winners from the wild card rounds. So, for example, last year the Jags beat the Chargers, so Christian Kirk got a card. The Giants beat the Vikings, still amazing how that happened. The Bills beat the Dolphins. The Bengals beat the Ravens. And then we have right here the Cowboys, who went ahead and beat the Bucks. And then the 49ers beat the Seahawks. And those are all cards from the wild card round. So every team that wins in the wild card round will receive a divisional card that's from that wild card weekend. So if your team wins a wild card, you're going to get a card in the divisional round here for that said purpose. Again, these will all be 96 overall champion players. Maybe this year ends up being 95s. My guess is it probably going to be 96s yet again, just because EA is EA. But I know this year, again, they do like to go ahead and make a little bit less. And they're doing lesser overalls this year, but I feel like 96s aren't that crazy. Maybe they're 95s. Maybe they're 95s, and the playoff heroes are 93s. No, because then I feel like the playoff heroes be 92s. I'm going to go with 96s. Maybe I'm wrong, but I feel like they're going to be 96s. Then you have the conference championship cards. Now, these are cards of players who won in the divisional round. So I hope you're kind of catching on to the drift here. You win in the two number one seeds get wild card cards, right? Because they're not playing wild card weekend. You got two legends starting off the playoff promo. Then every time a team wins in the playoffs, the wild card round, they get divisional cards. Divisional champions get conference champion cards. And then, obviously, you have the Super Bowl promo after that. Now, how they did it last year was they also had some legends. So, for example, you had a Steelers legend right here. You also had a Bills legend. So, they added two more legends in there because it's EA and they, like to make some more money. So, they added two more legend sets in there right there. So, now for the conference champion, you had the Eagles who won. You had the Chiefs that won their division round playoff game. You had the Bengals won their division round playoff game. And then, of course, you have the, you also have the 49ers that won their championship or the playoff game. Now, the Bills here, they lost. The Steelers never made the playoffs. So, it's possible that you could get players who didn't make the playoffs as legend cards during this promo. So, if you're like, hey, listen, my team missed the playoffs, I get you. I'm a Bengals fan. My team missed the playoffs as well. You might potentially still be able to get a card from your team if they release a legend of your team. But if not, it's just going to be that. Now, again, after the conference championship games, what about the teams that won the conference? Won the conference championship. They get Super Bowl cards. So that's kind of how this whole mentality works, right? So you have to go ahead and every time a team wins, they get a brand new card in the game. Again, this is different cycle this is different cycle last year than they did any other year, but this is probably what they're going to do. Most likely it's going to be the same old, that it's going to be whatever, wild card players go into the sets are from that said promo. So, hopefully this got to give you a structure of what to expect. Now, how can you prepare for this? And in all honesty, I'll be honest, there's not really any way to prepare. And the reason why I say that is, other than the obvious stuff, and let me just cover that real fast. The obvious stuff, how to prepare, is going to be sit on the auction house the second this promo drops and wait for whatever bundle comes out. Look at the bundle topper and then go ahead and start sniping those cards. That's going to be the best way to prepare once the promo drops. But pre-promo wise, you're not going to be able to really prepare too much. Because you got to keep in mind that a lot of the players that are going to come out are going to be 93 overalls, okay? That's going to be the playoff heroes. The 96s aren't going to be coming out until later on down the playoff line. And there's not like there's that many coming out. And then below the 93s are like 91s and then all the way down to 78 overalls. So again, like I said, there's not really a way to prepare as in the aspect of like, make sure you do A, B, C, and D right. Because again, all of them are kind of going to be structured where they're all just released at one time for the initial players, and then the 96s are later on. But it's not really going to, you're not going to be able to like sell certain cards because most likely these cards are going to have to be playoff cards that you have to use. You could make the argument, well, what about like lower overall elite cards? that might be a good idea to hold on to. Low overall elite cards, mid-round elite cards, kind of like the base elite, because those cards could be used for sets for the playoff cards. But again, that's pretty much the rundown. So tell me down below your thoughts and opinions. See you guys next one. Peace out.